Everyone knows they lied on you, but God is about to vindicate you. They whispered behind your back and smiled in your face. They twisted the truth until it barely looked like your story. And when you tried to walk in peace, they dragged your name through mud, hoping it would never shine again. But what they didn't understand is this: you don't need to defend yourself when God is your defender. You don't need a crowd when the Creator is your witness. They lied, boldly, repeatedly. But the lie is collapsing under the weight of the truth, and the truth is about to break out. You've been quiet. You've endured. And now the silence is turning into a sound from heaven. God is stepping in not just to comfort you, but to vindicate you. This isn't just payback. This is divine justice. Lies travel fast, but truth is eternal. They tried to ruin you with a sentence, a story, a whisper that became a wildfire, because the truth is, lies travel fast. Lies are built for speed, not depth. They get shared, repeated, dressed up in emotion, and passed around like poison. Some of those who heard it didn't even know you, but they believed it anyway. Others knew better, but pretending not to know was easier than standing up for what was right. And so the lie spread. Rooms shifted, people distanced themselves, conversations changed, and you stood there, wondering how something so false could feel so real. But hear this now: truth is never in a rush. It doesn't need to race, because it doesn't need to compete. The truth walks with God, and though it may arrive late to the party, it comes in dressed in fire, ready to expose what the lie tried to cover. You see, people often prefer a lie that entertains over a truth that confronts. That's why falsehoods catch wind like wildfire. They feed egos, fuel drama, and satisfy broken hearts that envy your spirit. But no matter how fast that lie ran, it could never outrun the truth that God placed inside of you. You didn't fold. You didn't lose yourself trying to fight it. You didn't get bitter, though you had every right to be. You just kept showing up, kept loving, kept growing, kept praying. And that's why you're still standing. Because truth isn't about clapping back, it's about enduring. It's about letting the story unravel on its own. It's about knowing that every person who believed the worst without asking for the facts will one day see God's hand prove them wrong. And make no mistake, God is not mocked. Every weapon formed against you, every tongue that rose to condemn you, will be silenced by the very truth they tried to deny. You were never alone. You were never forgotten. And now, the tables are turning. Lies have a shelf life. The enemy may have cooked up a narrative, but he forgot that God holds the final edit. You are not defined by their opinion. You're defined by your obedience. That's why the truth didn't need to come out immediately, because it wasn't about timing. It was about alignment. God was aligning the moment, the people, the stage, and the exposure. The lie was loud, but God's vindication will be louder. The very ones who once doubted you are going to have to sit front row when God lifts you in a way no man can deny. Understand this: character doesn't get exposed in the easy times. It gets revealed when the lights are off and the room is full of rumors. You could have retaliated. You could have gone down to their level. You could have turned petty into warfare. But you didn't. And that restraint was your victory. You showed heaven you were mature enough to handle the truth even when the lie was louder. That's the mark of someone chosen. Not someone popular, but someone protected. And when God starts vindicating, it won't be private. Because the lie wasn't private. They didn't hesitate to stain your name in public, so God won't hesitate to lift your name in public either. He's a God of justice, a God of balance, a God who steps in when the weight of dishonor has been dragging you down long enough. And when he shows up, there will be no debates, no confusion, no gray area, The truth will hit like lightning, sudden, undeniable, and divine. You are not your reputation. You are not their version of your story. You are God's creation, and He knows the truth from beginning to end. He saw the tears they never saw. He heard the prayers they never heard. He knows the battles you fought in silence. And because of that, your vindication is not coming from man, it's coming from the throne room. And when heaven decrees a thing, hell can't stop it. So don't you worry about chasing the truth down. You don't need to. The truth is already walking, slowly, boldly, and it's about to knock on every door where the lie once lived. People are going to start realizing, they're going to start remembering, the puzzle pieces are going to fit. And when they do, the shame they tried to place on you will fall on them. That's not revenge. That's God making things right. You were built for more than clearing your name. You were built for destiny. And sometimes destiny requires storms. Sometimes elevation comes wrapped in pain. Sometimes God allows the lie so that when the truth comes, nobody else can take credit for your rise. Nobody will say you manipulated your way back. Nobody will say you forced your comeback. They'll have no choice but to say, this had to be God. Let them talk, let them watch, let them wonder. Because God's about to speak, and when He does, it will settle every debate. The same people who walked away when the lie sounded believable will be the same ones watching when your truth is undeniable. They'll see the favor, they'll see the peace, they'll see the fruit, and they'll know the story was false, but your purpose was real. So lift your head, straighten your back, keep your spirit clean. Because you're not fighting to prove anything anymore. You're preparing to walk into a season where God proves it for you. The lie may have traveled fast, but the truth is eternal. And eternal always outlasts temporary. You're stepping into the kind of justice that only heaven can orchestrate. And it's not just coming, it's already in motion. This is your season of vindication. Stay grounded, stay focused. The truth is coming to light. And when it does, even your enemies will have to testify. We lied, but God still lifted them. Silence is not surrender. It's strategy. There's a moment when you feel the heat of betrayal and your mouth burns with the desire to defend yourself, to speak, to clap back, to correct every lie and call out every fake face hiding behind polite smiles. But you didn't. You chose silence. Not because you were weak, not because you were scared, but because you knew something they didn't. You understood something deeper. Your silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. In a world addicted to noise, to fighting fire with fire, choosing silence is a bold act of spiritual war. Because when God is your defender, your best weapon is often your stillness. They thought you were soft because you didn't argue. They thought they won because you didn't retaliate. They laughed, thinking your silence was submission. But what they failed to realize is that God hides His warriors in quietness. He covers His chosen ones in peace, not so they won't fight, but so the fight won't ruin their calling. You see, silence doesn't mean you're powerless. It means you're disciplined, and discipline is the language of the anointed. It takes strength not to respond when you've been publicly shamed. It takes spiritual maturity to let people misjudge you, misquote you, and mishandle you without correcting the record. But here's what you knew. Every word spoken against you was being recorded in heaven. Every lie, every false witness, every crooked tongue. God heard it all. And you knew deep in your spirit, if I speak now, I might miss what God is preparing to say on my behalf. Silence gave you room to grow. While they were busy spreading gossip, you were healing. While they were building alliances based on lies, God was building your strength in the secret place. While they plotted, you prayed. While they whispered, you worshiped. And while they expected your breakdown, God was preparing your breakthrough. See, when you step back, when you resist the urge to prove them wrong, you give God room to make them remember who you are. You give him space to show them who they played with. Let me remind you, God does his best work in silence. When Jesus was accused, he said nothing, not because he lacked a defense, but because his purpose was louder than their voices. And you've walked that same path. You didn't waste energy on those who were never meant to go where you're going. You didn't explain your heart to those who already made up their minds. You understood. Some people only show up to twist your truth into entertainment. You understood. Some people only show up to twist your truth into entertainment. That's why you stop talking. Because what's holy isn't meant to be explained to. What's hostile. And here's the power of silence. It confuses the enemy. They expected chaos. They expected you to lose control, to act out, to give them something they could use against you. But you robbed them of that. You starved the lie of oxygen. And now, without your reaction, the false story is collapsing. Because every lie needs fuel. Every slanderous tale needs your frustration to stay alive. But you didn't give them that satisfaction. And now, they're left talking to themselves. That's strategy. That's divine restraint. That's spiritual warfare at its finest. You turned the other cheek, not because you were blind to the attack, but because you saw the bigger picture. You knew if you defended yourself prematurely, you might block the very hand of God preparing to make your case undeniable. And when God defends you, it's not subtle, it's public, it's loud, it's final. See, silence also taught you discernment. In the quiet, you saw who was real and who was only loyal to a version of you that served their comfort. In the silence, masks fell, people exposed themselves. And while it hurt, it was necessary. Because what you're about to walk into can't be shared with people who believe the lie faster than they ever believed in you. Your silence wasn't for them. It was for you. It was so you could rise without bitterness, so you could heal without hate, so you could stand up without carrying the weight of trying to make everyone understand your heart. You weren't just protecting your peace, you were protecting your purpose. And now look at where you are. Look at what God has done in your stillness. The very people who doubted you are starting to see there's more to your story. They're watching things unfold in your favor and they're confused. How did you rise when everything was stacked against you? How are you glowing after all that pain? How are you walking in purpose after being lied on, walked on, and pushed aside? It's because you chose strategy over noise, silence over drama, growth over vengeance. The harvest you're stepping into is not random. It's a reward for your restraint. God saw what you could have said, what you could have done, but you didn't. You laid it down. You chose to hold your peace so God could fight your battle. And now that battle is almost over. The table is being set, the oil is being poured, the same voices that spread lies will now have to speak truth or remain silent forever. Because the truth doesn't need a defense when God decides to reveal it. And when he reveals it, it won't come with apologies. It will come with honor, divine honor, the kind that makes people rethink everything they assumed about you, the kind that doesn't just restore your name, it elevates it. So keep standing in that silence. It's not empty, it's sacred. It's not weakness, it's warfare. You're not hiding, you're being hidden by God. And soon, when the silence breaks, it won't be your voice they hear first, it'll be God's. And his voice will echo louder than every lie spoken against you. Remember this, you don't need to scream your truth when heaven is about to shout it on your behalf. The world may not understand your silence, but heaven applauds it. You were wise enough to be still. Now watch God show the world exactly why. Public shame sets the stage for public vindication. They didn't just lie on you, they made it loud. They didn't keep it in whispers or behind closed doors. No, they wanted an audience. They wanted witnesses. They wanted to humiliate you so deeply, so widely, that your name would sink under the weight of shame. They used your past against you. They twisted your silence into guilt. They even turned some of your greatest acts of love into accusations. And when the room turned cold and people looked at you differently, you felt it in your chest like a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. But what they didn't realize is that public shame is often the dress rehearsal for a public vindication. What man tried to use to bury you, God is about to use to bless you. Openly. It hurt, didn't it? Watching people you trusted step back, seeing people who once clapped for you now keep their distance, feeling like a stranger in spaces you helped build. You weren't just attacked, you were exposed. They stripped away your privacy, your dignity, your truth. And the worst part? You couldn't even explain it, not fully, not to people who already made up their minds. But here's the revelation. Exposure doesn't scare God. In fact, he often allows it not to shame you, but to reveal who's really with you and who's only with your image. See, some people only celebrated you because they saw you as flawless. The moment things got messy, the moment your name got dragged, they disappeared. But real connection isn't proven in celebration, it's revealed in crisis. And though it hurt, their leaving freed you. It purified your circle. It taught you that not every amen is from someone anointed. Some people clapped not because they loved you, but because they loved what they gained from you. And once your name got stained, their loyalty disappeared like smoke. But while they were busy turning their backs, God was turning the page. While they whispered, heaven was writing. And what's coming next in your life will not only silence the rumors, it will outshine them. You were never meant to stay in that place of shame. That was the setup. The cross before the crown, the pit before the palace. Because God specializes in taking people who were dragged through the dirt and raising them up where everyone can see. Think about it. God doesn't vindicate you in private when your pain was public. No, he makes it a spectacle. He prepares a table not in the wilderness, but in the presence of your enemies. Why? Because some victories aren't meant to be silent. Some restorations need a crowd, not for revenge, but for revelation. So people know this wasn't luck, this wasn't manipulation, this wasn't your hustle, this was God stepping in and putting his glory on your name. And make no mistake, God saw everything. The screenshots, the gossip, the fake apologies, the conversations you weren't invited to but were all about you, the people who smiled in your face and slandered you the moment you walked away. He saw it all, and he didn't step in immediately, not because he didn't care, but because he was setting the stage. See, vindication is more powerful when the lie has been fully believed, when everyone thinks the story is over, when the crowd has walked away. That's when God walks in and says, now watch me. You've been walking through a season where your character was questioned, your motives were misread, and your silence was misunderstood, and through it all, you stayed planted, you stayed grounded, you stayed in the presence of God. You may have cried yourself to sleep, you may have questioned your purpose, you may have even doubted your worth, but you didn't quit. And because of that, you're about to see the power of public vindication. And when it comes, don't expect it to look like an apology from those who hurt you. Some of them will never admit what they did, but that's not how God works. His vindication doesn't rely on their confession. It comes through elevation, through favor, through doors opening that no one can explain, through blessings so loud even your enemies have to acknowledge, this had to be God. That's the kind of redemption coming for you, one that speaks louder than any rumor ever could. They tried to ruin your name, but your name is being redeemed, not by you, by heaven. The same platform they used to mock you, God is going to use to magnify you. The same people who said, look what happened to them, are going to say, look what God did through them. That's the beauty of divine justice. It doesn't just restore what you lost, it adds glory to your story. So hold your head high. Don't walk in shame, walk in expectation, because this next season isn't about surviving the lie, it's about thriving in the truth. You're not who they said you were, you never were, and now the world is about to see the real you, the healed you, the anointed you, the chosen you. And they're not just going to hear it, they're going to witness it. What the enemy meant for humiliation, God is turning into exaltation. What they meant to destroy you is what God is using to display you. You are not the story of shame. You are the story of survival and strength and supernatural comeback. This is bigger than vindication. This is about testimony, because someone out there needs to see that God still lifts those who are pushed down, that he still honors the faithful, that he still turns ashes into beauty, and that his promises are still yes and amen. You don't have to force your way back. You don't have to demand respect. You don't even have to shout your truth. All you have to do is keep walking. Keep trusting. Keep letting God handle the spotlight, because he's not just clearing your name, he's preparing your stage. And every eye that saw you fall is about to see you fly. Public shame hurt you, but it didn't break you. It exposed some things. It refined some things. But most importantly, it positioned you for this next chapter. And in this chapter, the glory of God is going to rest on you so heavily that even those who doubted you will have no choice but to say, they didn't lie about them, they lied on them, but God set the record straight. Your vindication will be louder than their lies. They thought the lie would be your ending, that if they said it loud enough, often enough, and to the right people, it would stick. And for a moment, it did. The looks changed. The support stopped. The invitations dried up. People started acting like you were guilty of a crime you never committed. But what they failed to understand is this: a lie can make noise, but God's vindication makes a sound that shakes foundations. Your name may have been dragged through the dirt, but your destiny was never up for debate. Because when God speaks, he doesn't whisper, he declares. And his declaration will drown out every false word that's ever been spoken about you. The lie was strategic. It wasn't random. It was designed to dismantle your credibility. It came at a moment when you were stepping into something new, when your confidence was rising, when your light was getting too bright for those living in the shadows. And instead of celebrating your growth, they tried to assassinate your character. That's how the enemy moves. He's subtle, but calculated. He doesn't just come for your reputation, he comes for your momentum. Because if he can get enough people to doubt you, maybe you'll start doubting yourself. But you didn't fold. You didn't retreat into bitterness. You didn't break under pressure. You kept walking, kept praying, kept believing, and that confused your enemies. Because lies are meant to destroy, but instead of crushing you, the lies pushed you closer to God. They didn't ruin you, they refined you. And now you're coming out stronger, sharper, and more surrendered than ever. And that's why your vindication is going to be so loud. Because it's not just about clearing your name, it's about glorifying his. They built a false story around you thinking it would stick, but God is about to rewrite the entire narrative in a way that no one can ignore. The same mouths that spread lies are going to be silenced by the evidence of your elevation. Your fruit will speak. Your peace will speak. your growth, your glow, your blessings, they will all speak louder than the rumors. Because the lie was temporary, but God's favor is eternal. You need to understand something. When God vindicates, He doesn't just restore what was stolen, He multiplies it. He doesn't just clean your name, He anoints it. He puts weight on your life that cannot be denied. You won't need to announce your return. You won't need to fight for recognition. Your vindication will carry its own volume. The very people who overlooked you are going to watch God position you in places they never imagined. That's not pride, that's prophecy. Let them say what they want. Let them twist the story past the lie and cling to the narrative. Because when it's all said and done, your reality will speak for itself. You'll be so covered in grace, so wrapped in purpose, that the lie won't even fit anymore. They won't be able to recognize the person they tried to destroy, because the version God is about to unveil is completely transformed. That's what makes the vindication so powerful. It doesn't just cancel the lie, Sometimes God allows the lie to linger long enough for everyone to see just how wrong they were. He lets the crowd walk away, the support disappear, the silence grow heavy. Not because He's forgotten you, but because He's preparing a moment so undeniable, even your enemies will have to acknowledge it. When He lifts you, it won't be quiet. When He restores you, it won't be hidden. When He opens that door, it won't be behind the scenes, it'll be center stage. And don't expect a round of apologies. Some of them will stay silent. Others will pretend they never believed it. That's okay. Your goal was never to get them to like you. It was to stay in alignment with God. And because you remained faithful through the fire, He's going to honor you in front of those who tried to burn you down. There's a reason the tables are turning. Because the lie elevated the noise, but God's about to elevate your name. Not in arrogance, but in assignment. He's about to place you where the lie can't follow. In rooms where your name is respected again. In circles where your truth is heard again. In atmospheres where your gifts are celebrated again. And this time, it won't be because you forced it. It'll be because heaven endorsed it. You are stepping into a season where the results of your life will be your defense. Where the blessings on your life will speak louder than any rumor that tried to define you. The lie screamed. But your healing will roar. Your breakthrough will echo. Your peace will thunder. And every single person who believed the worst is going to have to sit and watch the best unfold right in front of them. Don't worry about rushing it. God knows exactly how long the lie has lingered. He's heard every false accusation, and He's counted every tear you cried in silence. And now, He's ready to flip the script. What was meant to bring you down is going to elevate you to levels they never saw coming. You didn't need to shout to defend yourself, because heaven was preparing to make a sound that no lie could compete with. Let them talk, let them mock, let them watch. Because what God is about to do in your life will leave no room for debate. You were chosen, you were covered, you were kept for such a time as this. And now is the time where truth will rise and lies will fall. Your vindication won't need explanation. It will speak, it will shine, it will reverberate through every place where your name was mishandled. So walk boldly, head held high, heart open, because this next season isn't about revenge, it's about revelation, about God revealing who you really are, about Him putting His stamp of approval on you in ways no man can deny. You're not just coming back, you're coming back louder, brighter, stronger, and more anointed than ever, because when God vindicates, He doesn't whisper in the corner. He stands up, He speaks out, and His voice will always be louder than their lies. You're not meant to clear your name. That's God's job. There's a burden that weighs heavy on the soul when your name has been dragged through the mud. You want to scream your truth. You want to gather everyone who ever heard the lie and explain, defend, and make them understand. You want to undo the damage, fix the narrative, and clear your name. But here's the truth you must hold on to. You were never meant to clear your name. That's not your job. That's God's assignment. You were meant to walk in obedience, in truth, in purpose. And let the one who sees all and knows all bring your vindication in his perfect timing. The pressure to explain yourself is real. You hear the whispers. You feel the shift in how people treat you. The rooms you used to walk into with boldness now feel cold. There's tension in the air because people formed opinions from gossip, not truth. And there's a voice inside you screaming to fix it. But every time you try, it drains your spirit, because trying to fix what God hasn't assigned you to fix will always exhaust you. Your name is safest in God's hands. You see, when you fight to clear your name, you're stepping into a role that belongs to the righteous judge. And the moment you pick up that role, you also pick up the pain of carrying a weight you were never meant to bear. God didn't anoint you to fight lies. He anointed you to walk in truth. And there's a difference. Truth doesn't chase people. It doesn't beg to be believed. Truth stands. Truth endures. Truth lets the storm pass and remains unshaken, because it knows time always reveals what lies try to hide. The world will tell you to defend yourself, to clap back, to expose the people who twisted your words and misrepresented your character. But God's way is different. God says, "Be still and know that I am God." That's not just a verse for comfort. It's a strategy. Stillness isn't inactivity. It's trust in divine activity. When you stop trying to fix the mess, you give God full permission to do what only He can do. And when God clears your name, He doesn't just restore your reputation. He redeems it. He adds value to it. He puts His mark on it so that even those who believed the worst can't deny the evidence of His favor. When God vindicates, He doesn't ask for permission. He doesn't seek validation. He moves in such a way that even your enemies are forced to say, "That had to be God." Let's be honest. It's not easy to be misunderstood, to be painted in a false light, especially when all you did was love people the best you could, with a pure heart. It hurts, and that hurt is real. But don't let the hurt push you into a position of self-defense that God never called you to stand in. If the cross teaches us anything, it's that sometimes silence speaks louder than 1,000 explanations. Jesus stood silent before Pilate, not because he had nothing to say, but because he understood the truth didn't need to defend itself. It would be revealed in the resurrection, and so will yours. God is not asking you to chase rumors. He's asking you to chase Him. Because while they're busy talking, He's busy working. While they're spreading the lie, He's building the platform for your next elevation. And when He's ready, your name will be restored. And not to the same level, but higher. That's how God works. He doesn't return things the way they were. He gives back an overflow. They tried to bury you with their words. They thought your silence was surrender. They thought the damage was done. But what they didn't know is that God was using the silence to grow something sacred in you. Endurance, character, strength, faith. And now you've come out of the fire not just purified, but positioned. Not just healed, but called. Not just standing, but anointed. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the process God is taking you through. Some people will never believe the truth, not because it isn't clear, but because the lie was more convenient. That's not your battle. Your battle is to keep your heart clean, keep your spirit open, keep your focus on the path ahead. Because every second you spend trying to change their minds is a second stolen from your assignment. You were not called to be understood by everyone. You were called to be faithful to the one who called you. And when the time comes, God will speak loudly, publicly, powerfully. He will move in such a way that the same mouths that once gossiped will now say, "I didn't see that coming." That's the beauty of divine vindication. It doesn't just clear your name. It changes the entire atmosphere around your name. It restores your voice. It revives your confidence. It reestablishes your authority in the spirit realm. It tells the devil, "You tried, but you failed." So breathe, release the burden. You don't have to chase justice. Justice is already chasing you. You don't have to defend what God has already declared clean. You don't have to beg for peace. It's already been promised. Your job is to stay faithful, stay humble, and stay available, because the very people who discounted you are about to see God do more with your obedience than they could ever do with their opinions. Let the lie fall apart by itself. Let the story unravel under the weight of its own deception. You're not called to pull weeds. You're called to plant seeds. And what you've planted in pain is about to blossom in power. You are stepping into a season where you will no longer have to explain who you are. Your fruit will do the talking. Don't waste your oil proving yourself to people who never deserved access to your heart. Don't forfeit your peace to win back those who walked away too easily. God saw who left. He saw who stayed silent. And he's not blind. He's just waiting for the perfect moment to make his move. And when he does, when he does, it will be undeniable, unstoppable, unshakable. Because when God clears your name, it's not just for you. It's for his glory. So rest, trust, and get ready. The one who holds your name is about to make it known again, this time in victory.